I mean, that cannot be right. Listen to this. This track was created in a game from a player, and there are hundreds of other tracks in this game. Now, tell me that's not insane. This week I played 4 very different indie games, and one of them made time disappear. One almost made my laptop cry, and another one made me question my age. And by the end of this video, I'll tell you which one surprised me the most. Not just as a player, but as an indie developer. Let's start with the quiet one, the calm one, the one that tricked me. I genuinely did not know how to describe this game when I first opened it. At first glance, Cadence looks minimal. Clean UI, soft colors, cozy vibes. You load it up and think, okay, nice, we're going to relax, maybe solve a few puzzles, maybe create some soft ambient sound, chill evening, tea, good time. 5 minutes later, I'm halfway through the game. Time just disappeared. Cadence is basically a logic puzzle game where solving puzzles generates music. But here's the interesting part. You don't need music theory. You don't need rhythm skills. The game guides you through intuitive systems where patterns create melodies. Every time you solve a puzzle, you unlock gentle musical layers that slowly wake up Ren, the philosophical cat companion. Yes, there's a cat. Of course there's a cat, because this is indie gaming. Ren adds little reflections about life as you progress. It sounds simple, but it creates emotional texture. And that's important. I immediately noticed something smart. The core mechanic is simple, but the game uses progressive complexity layering. At the surface, it feels accessible. Underneath, it becomes mentally demanding in a very satisfying way. That's good puzzle design. It respects the player's intelligence without overwhelming him. And then there's the twist. There's a fully featured editor. Not just a basic sandbox, a real editor where you can create your own beats. And here's the part that made me sit up straight in my chair. There are community tracks. So when I heard that first beat, I thought it was part of the main game. Nope, that was made by players. From a design perspective, this is genius. You're not just consuming content, you're building it. And when players create music, they invest emotionally. That increases retention naturally. If you've ever used ADM production software like Ableton or FL Studio, you'll feel something familiar. The grid, the pattern logic, the layering. Obviously, it's simplified compared to professional software, but the creative loop is there. And that's dangerous, because once you realize you can create something that actually sounds good, you fall into the just one more tweak trap. And suddenly it's 2 AM. I really admire how Cadence connects logic and creativity. It's not trying to be flashy, it's not screaming for attention, it quietly hooks you. If you love music, even casually, this one absolutely is recommended. Now, this one is very different. Goblins of ELDERSTONE is a city building game, but instead of humans or clean medieval towns, you manage a chaotic goblin tribe. And yes, they behave like goblins. You build structures, manage resources, keep your goblins fed, and try to prevent riots. On top of that, you must appease a pantheon of gods, because apparently managing goblins wasn't stressful enough. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of city builders. It's one of those genres that you either love it or you don't. There is no middle ground. You either enjoy optimizing production chains for 3 hours, or you fall asleep after 10 minutes. That doesn't mean the game is bad. In fact, the idea of using goblins is smart. It gives personality to the genre. The art style immediately grabs attention. The goblins are charming in their chaotic way. And that visual identity helps the game stand out. The game has been around since at least 2018 probably, which explains the solid mechanics. You can feel that systems were refined over time. Resource loops make sense. Progression feels structured. It has the potential to last almost infinitely, which is typical for good management games. But here comes my problem. Performance. My laptop is not weak, it's solid. And yet, from early stages, I felt strain. If the system struggles when the village is small at the beginning, what happens when the city grows? Looking at user feedback, there have been reports of crashes, which might connect to optimization issues. To be fair, the developers implemented adaptive performance settings, which I saw in the menu, so they're probably aware of it. Simulation games are brutal on CPUs. Every goblin probably runs behavior logic, needs, pathfinding, resource checks. Multiply that by dozens or hundreds, and you have serious processing load. Optimization becomes everything. At around $20, the price feels fair maybe if you love the genre. If you're unsure, I would recommend researching more or waiting for a discount. The concept is strong, the execution is solid, the performance may be the real boss fight. This one came to me as an exclusive demo. The developers were very clear. It's a prototype. There may be bugs. Honestly, I didn't encounter major bugs. What I found instead was difficulty. Pure cooperative, slightly humiliating difficulty. You know why? Because I'm getting old. The concept is simple but powerful. It's a cooperative experience for 2 players. You and your friends sit down, maybe on a couch, maybe online, and you collaborate to overcome physics-based challenges. And here's the magic. While playing, you talk, you laugh, you complain about life, you blame each other, you celebrate tiny victories. It's not just a game mechanic, it's a social tool. My friend and I had an amazing time. We chatted about random things while trying to beat a level. And here's the embarrassing part. We could not pass this level. I really don't know if we are just too old now. Maybe our reflexes are gone. Maybe we need more coffee. Or maybe the level was actually very hard. Co-op difficulty is delicate. If it's too easy, it becomes boring. If it's too hard, it risks frustration. But there's a sweet spot where failure becomes funny instead of annoying. Chained Wheels is very close to that sweet spot. It captures the feeling of those couch co-op classics, where the challenge becomes part of the bonding experience. If I were advising the developers, I would suggest adding some checkpoints, and maybe small cosmetics unlocks that reward repeated attempts. Variable reward systems are powerful in co-op games. The base is incredibly strong. Sometimes, as indie developers, we underestimate how valuable fun with friends actually is. This demo understands it. OEUF is a 3D physics platformer where you play as an egg trying to roll, hop, and slide back home. And let's address the obvious. The first thought most people will have is, wait, is this Minecraft? The visual style strongly resembles Minecraft's blocky aesthetic. And that's interesting, because that familiarity can be an advantage. People instantly understand the visual language. Minecraft is one of the best-selling games in history, with over 300 million copies sold. So when OEUF uses something visually similar, it taps into that recognition. But gameplay-wise, it's not Minecraft. You control an egg, navigating obstacles to reach a summit. The controls feel surprisingly fluid, especially with a controller. The physics are responsive. You feel the weight of the egg rolling. Initially, I assumed the egg would break if it fell from high places. That would make sense, right? Egg falls, egg cracks, end of story. But no, the egg only breaks in specific developer-defined areas. Maybe because it reminded me of another game called Egging On, I think, which is known for brutal difficulty. Expect a similar level of challenge here, especially in later sections. Physics platformers live or die by feel. Input latency, friction values, collision detection. If those are off, players instantly notice. Here it feels solid. And yes, it's difficult. But difficulty can be good. It creates tension. It creates that one more try effect. The key is fairness. And so far, it feels fair. Now, let me close the loop I opened at the beginning. Which game surprised me the most? Honestly, Cadence. But not because it was loud, not because it was technically complex, but because it quietly combined logic, creativity, and community. Cadence proves that sometimes connecting two simple ideas, puzzle logic and music creation, can create something powerful. Chained Wheels reminds us that games are social glue. OEUF shows that even a simple concept, you are an egg, can become engaging with good physics and smart design. I know this game is not something new, but it's still interesting. And that's what I love about indie development. Freedom, experimentation, risk. If you made it this far, you probably care about indie games the same way I do. Or you're a friend of mine. So now I'm curious, which one of these would you actually play? Let me know what you think in the comments. And like always, thanks for watching!